Good evening to all of you out there in social media world who has tuned in tonight's episode of Real Living in Bolingbrook. Let me bring that header up so we are all at the right place. Welcome to this episode of Real Living in Bolingbrook. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Bill. I am one of your co-hosts of this video podcast series, and my other co-host, he's busy wrapping up some stuff. Let's knock on his door and make sure he's ready to roll. Okay, let's check in on him. Here we go. Hey, Greg, you ready? All right. I'll give you a few more minutes. So while we're waiting, let's let his fan base, his diverse fan base, give him a rip-roaring welcome. And especially the guy in the hoodie. He's funny, right? That's one of his most recent sellers. See, he's like, yay, Greg, you helped me sell my place super fast. So let's bring Greg into the conversation tonight.
Hey, everybody. How are you? Thanks, Bill. You always have a great introduction.
Well, hey, fun. It's easy when you've got your diverse fan base, especially the guy in the hoodie, just going at it.
Yeah.
So how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I wrapped up a great weekend. You know, other than doing a little bit of work, I had a very relaxing weekend. And I know this is a show about Bolingbrook. Bolingbrook is such a great place to live. I love living here. It's a great town. But in Bolingbrook, we have the DuPage River that runs through it. Mm-hmm. And it comes up through Naperville. And there's another branch that's in Bolingbrook where they meet. And then it goes on to, down to Plainfield. So my wife and I, twice this weekend, we went kayaking.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and in Bolingbrook, they have a trout farm. It's hidden lakes, and so they got these two big ponds where they have big trout that you can go. A lot of people take their kids, and they fish for these fish. But right next to that is the DuPage River, and the river is probably no more than, 30 feet across, so it's kind of narrow. It's a narrow part of the river, but it's cool because it moves usually pretty fast. There's waterfalls that come in from Wayland Lake that come in there. And it's a very windy river. So there's a lot of twists and turns. You see no houses. You don't really hear much traffic. However, we did hear a lot of sirens going on. But you would be amazed with how much wildlife you see traveling down this. So when I was going down with my wife, we have two really nice kayaks. I ended up taking a lot of video.
Oh, nice. So
I'm putting together a video, and I'm going to send it over to our Facebook at Fairways of Augusta. That's the subdivision I live in. Okay. Just to show them, if you're sitting at home, you're bored, go do this. It's a lot of fun. So we ended up going all the way down to Plainfield. It took us about 4 hours.
Wow.
And when you think of a river, you might think of, a deep river, I might drown.
No.
Literally 95% of the river, if you fall out of your boat, just stand up.
Oh, okay.
Because there's so much of the river that is so shallow.
Yeah.
We actually got stuck in two spots, but you just get up and you pull it and you go.
Okay.
I'm always amazed at how shallow the river really is, but I had a lot of fun with that.
So you're saying with this outing, there's a little bit or just enough of a current so you don't have to paddle as much?
You don't paddle at all.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and all you do is you use your paddles just to steer the boat.
Yeah.
And that's really all you need to do. There's enough of a current. You're going about 4 miles an hour.
So when you're shooting your video, are you using like a GoPro? Since you
I was taking clips with my phone and just kind of talking as I go. But the problem is if you take your handles off the paddle, you have about 5 seconds before you need to steer your boat. So you're doing it with one hand.
Right.
So it's going to be a choppy video, but it's still fun. We saw deer We saw turtles. We saw fish. We saw birds. We saw those muskrats or beavers or whatever. We saw them.
Yeah.
It's just amazing with how much life all around you is. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well,
in Bolingbrook, and I'll say this too, because I said I really like living in Bolingbrook. I was amazed to find out that there's 25 square miles is the size of Bolingbrook.
Wow.
It's a big city, 75,000 people. We have events. They were doing events, concerts in the park in 2 different locations, Promenade and then I think Village Hall or something like that they were doing. We just wrapped up the Cavalcade of Planes. So we have an airport here in Bolingbrook.
Okay.
And they have a big festival with food trucks and planes, and then they have fighter jets come in and helicopters, and it was just a blast. Yeah, I've been to it many times with my kids.
Is that your next hobby, Greg? Piloting a plane?
It's funny that you ask that, because every time I think if I could just win the lottery, I would get my pilot's license and I would go flying. Yeah, absolutely. I think I would love it. My kids would love it. I would make them go do it with me.
Yeah. And then we can call you the flying real estate broker.
There you go. You want to go look at a home? I'll show you from.
I'll fly you right in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the other thing along this topic, nice segue. The other thing that I learned about you is you also know how to maneuver and fly a drone, right?
Yes.
So that's good practice.
Yeah. Because I do all my drone shots, for my listings.
For your listings?
Like that. Yeah. I'm not one of those guys though that flies at all, through the window and that kind of thing. So that's a little bit outside of my pay grade.
Yeah. Hey, nothing wrong with that. I mean, well, the ones where you're doing the fast fly through and so forth. I think for something like that, it depends on the property, right? If the property warrants it, requires it, it makes sense. Yeah. Otherwise, just a nice aerial drone shot. Yeah. Right. For the most part, a suburban property, decent sized yard, people want to at least get a sense of that visual.
Oh, sure. Because a drone shot, and even I always recommend people Google properties, before they buy them to get a satellite view. You want to make sure there's no external obsolescence that's affecting the home.
Right.
My biggest one that I always think of is the sewage treatment plant. I've sold houses that were by them. I lived a mile away from one. It's no good.
True. Not to mention, on that same topic, not to throw shade on neighbors, but a nice drone aerial shot, you get a sense of like, what the hell are the neighbors doing in their backyard? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I have a listing right now where I hope that when people come look at the home, they don't go look at the neighbors. Yeah. It's a nightmare. Yeah. So that's going to affect your value.
Exactly. That's when you go knock on the neighbor's door. Hey, John Doe, clean up a little bit, man. I'm trying to sell my house with Greg Vanden Brook. So why don't we now with our catch-up banter. By the way, great seeing you today. Welcome to summer, everyone. The heat is upon us, and Greg, with you doing your kayak trip, yeah, it's so appropriate because when I hear kayaking, canoeing, it's like summer events, right?
Oh yeah.
So everyone, welcome to summer. If you're locally here in the greater Chicago metro area, you certainly know that. You certainly agree with us because, oh my gosh, this week it's been a hot, dry one. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who may be relocating to Bolingbrook or close by, well, here in the Chicago metro area, we get all 4 seasons.
I tell you what, I think I told you this. I was looking to move to South Carolina, possibly. Yeah. And I actually went down there to check it out and stuff because I wanted to move, somewhere warmer. It gave me such a deep appreciation
Yeah.
for how much, not only do I love this area with all the amenities and the amount of forest preserves that we have that are so cool, but for the seasons.
Yeah.
I love, I would have to say probably my favorite month now, it's moving, is October. I mean, I just love the fall colors.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
beautiful.
Me too. I love that part of our season. And unfortunately, you know, we get all 4 seasons, but not all 4 seasons have the same duration, right? Summer is short. Spring sometimes can be short. You know, we flip from winter to summer sometimes instantaneously.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, with all of that said, we're going to now get a little serious. Back to our episode for tonight, Real Living in Bolingbrook. Greg, why don't you lead us off with dropping from your professional perspective, what's going on with real estate?
Yeah, so I looked at some numbers here recently. It is a lot of more of the same still.
Okay.
But I have some numbers that I want to go over. So the median home sale in Bolingbrook in May of last month was 368,000. That was up about 2% from April of 361.
Wow.
In May a year ago, we're up almost 9% because it was 335 and now we're at 368.
Right.
The price per square foot is also up, obviously 9%,
sure,
to 189. Homes for sale in May, we went from 67 in April to 70 homes available in May. And last year in May, we had 84 homes. So we're down the amount of inventory. Inventory is dropping down still.
Yeah.
And prices are going up.
Prices are going up. Yeah.
Yeah. And same thing with listings, you know, new listings are down as well. So the market is still contracting. Prices are still going up. Square footage is still going up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with that said, let's bring up one of your listings, one of your active current listings for sale. Why not? Right.
Sure.
Because it will help support exactly what you just dropped and shared with all of us. So this is one of your listings, Greg and Joliet. Pretty fresh listing from what I can tell. It's been on the market for just a few days. And, you know, for those of you watching, listening to tonight's episode, yeah, this is your typical median price point home in Joliet, $375,000. Love how your sellers have kept this place like pretty much new construction, clean. How do you persuade them to do that?
Yeah, so this particular listing, he was a client of mine. I sold him this home a few years ago. Yeah, the home was built in 2021. It is a very nice home, nice basement,
Right.
clean. He did have it cleaned out, and then we went in for professional photography and had the photography done. Vacant homes do sell easier and better most of the time than if people are living in the home. So it just looks cleaner. People can imagine themselves moving in without all the stuff on the counters.
Yeah. True.
Like that. So it's a nice home. So when I looked at comparable prices for this home, I thought it was important, as I often do, to look in that same exact neighborhood of homes that are of very similar size with similar amenities. That right there is a loft that can be made. Yeah, can be made into a 4th bedroom if you want. So it's a pretty nice size home.
Yeah.
But I looked at comps in the same neighborhood, same square foot, with similar amenities, and we were actually not at the very top of the market. There was 1 or 2 that sold above this one.
Smart.
But we are within range. So
smart.
Yeah. So we're getting some activity on it, getting some showings on it. I don't have any offers yet. In this particular case, I looked at the market time, which was about 25 days on the market. So I let my client know it's going to be, see, there's my drone shot.
There you go. Love it. Yeah.
but it's probably going to take about 25 days. I am doing an open house this weekend on it, along with doing an open house. I'm doing a double banger on Sunday. So I have an open house at one house from 10 until noon, and then this one from 1 until 3.
Okay, yeah. You're creating enough flexibility so that the right buyers have a chance to come when they are free. Not to mention, maybe the one right buyer is going to come same day to look at it twice and then write the offer. How's that?
Yeah. So you know what I find is that because there's such little inventory, and I notice this with my buyers, and I keep telling them. So I love showing homes.
Yeah.
Anytime a home comes on the market, drop what we're doing. Let's go take a look at it. A lot of buyers, though, they feel like they're bothering their agent to go look at homes.
Yeah.
So if you can do an open house on the weekend and just allow them to come, a lot of buyers are coming in without their agents, just saying that they are working with, this person over here. And it's just a good way to people, to kind of do some stuff on their own without their agent.
Yeah, absolutely. So with this as a backstory and a backdrop, Greg, care to drop some pointers for maybe potential sellers who have a home similar to this that they want to sell? What would you tell them?
So you're asking me how to tell them how to win it on a sale? Is that
how can they win as a seller?
Yeah, so you got to think of it like this. The things that are going to sell the home are a few things: price, product, and promotion.
Yeah.
You got to have all three of those. If you start pricing your home outside of the price range of that area, of that home, of that time of year,
right?
You got to price the home within the range. The product's got to be good. So when I initially looked at the home here, it was full of stuff everywhere. Yeah, and it was just not good. The photos are not going to look good. So the product wasn't where we needed it to be.
Right.
He emptied it out, got everything out of there. We cleaned it up. So I do professional cleaning for all my listings. So it's something that I offer to sellers. Sellers they're moving. They don't want to spend the time to, you know what I mean? They don't want to spend the time. So I have a cleaning crew that goes in and takes care of that stuff.
Good.
So the pricing's got to be right. The product's got to be right. And the third thing is promotion.
Yeah.
So, putting it on the MLS is what all realtors do. It goes in 900 different websites, but you got to do more than that in today's market. And, I'm with Epic Realty. So we have state-of-the-art technology like you wouldn't believe. And I'm talking AI technology, but I do landing pages, squeeze pages. I promote it. My company promotes it for me as well on social media, where they blast it out. And then the leads that all come in to my CRM. Yeah. So on this particular home that we were just looking at, I think I had about 70 names, email addresses, and phone numbers of people that went on and clicked through the home.
Nice.
So then what I do is I gather all that information in my CRM. I send a mass text to all those people, a lot of times with a video of me at the home. Oh, yeah. Showing some stuff, letting them know about the open house, letting them know to call me to get in. And a lot of people communicate that way through the text saying, yeah, I'd really like to take a look at it. Yeah. So promotion is very important.
Yeah. That's where you earn your compensation, because it's not just like you said, it's not just about doing the very basic stuff that any and every real estate broker will do. It's that of, what's your plan to get to the outcome and to be able to execute it. So spot on. And you're right. Pricing, real estate, it's an art and a science, right? Because if you don't price it correctly, like stale bread, it'll sit around for a while. And then eventually people will say, what's wrong with the stale bread?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, with this same property, for all of you watching and listening to Greg and myself using this as a storyboard, let me pivot now, and I'll drop in my tips, my advice of how to win as a buyer. Well, first off, here's the most obvious. How you can win as a buyer is go and do what maybe other buyers are not doing, which is go beyond just getting pre-approved. Actually go and get fully approved for financing the purchase of this home. And if you might have to compete for other buyers with asking price of $375, go ahead and get approved for financing and ask your chosen lender. If you haven't found the right one, well, hey, right here. But the most important thing is ask your chosen lender, if I have to compete against other buyers, Bill, what strategies, what advice can you help me employ so I'm the winning buyer? And that might mean, you know, can you offer more? Can you offer way more and play the game of maybe ask for some seller credits? But the key is making sure that the seller still nets what they want to net. That's one way. The other ways are, of course, put down a strong offer, right? Put down such a strong offer where it compels Greg to just stop looking at other offers and say, I'm going to call this buyer's lender and make sure this buyer's for real. Right, Greg?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, and also when I was talking to you earlier, you were mentioning too, and I'll just bring this up because it's the same kind of thing, that sometimes when your client, you were saying when they make an offer that you'll even call that agent
Bingo.
And say, hey, you know, this buyer is spot on, you know, A+ buyer or whatever it may be. And a lot of times realtors don't know or understand that the buyer is actually approved.
That's right.
You know, so I, as a realtor, have to call them and say, no, it's not a pre-approval. They're approved. All we need is, and correct me if I'm wrong, appraisal, and title work, and you know, contract, and we're ready to go.
And contract. And there are times, depending on the property, depending on the history of the property, and then depending on some other characteristics of the buyer, there may not be a need for an appraisal.
Right.
Yeah. So those are some of the things that you as a buyer watching tonight's episode should absolutely take advantage of. And once again, if you have not committed to the right mortgage professional to help you uncover all of these bases, certainly reach out to me. Before we end tonight's episode, Greg and myself will drop our means of how you can engage us to start a conversation. So those are some of my tips. Wrapping up for this particular property, I'm going to go out on the limb and share this with you. Maybe this is that buyer who's going to be knocking on your door. And that is a buyer who is a veteran, but now works in the corporate world. A veteran can literally finance the purchase of this nice home, no money down, and maybe all that they would need at the closing table is just a pretty decent sized security deposit or equivalent to. Think about that, buyers. And for those of you watching who have family members, who have friends who may be an eligible veteran, they served in one of the military armed forces or the National Guard, certainly share with them this listing from Greg Vanden Brook. So let me bring it up once again. Here we go. Here's the picture. The property is at 510 Silver Falls Street in Joliet. Hey, Greg, are there some places in Joliet that you can kayak?
Of course. So the DuPage River goes from Bolingbrook all the way through Joliet, and who knows where it goes from there. I don't really know, but it goes right downtown, or right through the west part of Joliet.
Okay.
We've actually gone. So there's an app that you can get on your phone called Go Paddling.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's for kayaking and canoeing. And you can see all the launch areas all over the river. And there's some down in Joliet, a bunch of them. Yeah. So my wife and I went down to check out some of the locations because we might try it down there too.
Sweet, sweet. And let me bring that property back up again. For those of you who may be avid kayakers like Greg and Greg's wife, take a look at that garage. You got more than enough space to store your single bigger kayak or the two separate ones, just like Greg.
Yeah, and this is on the west side of Joliet, so it's actually ironically kind of close to that, and it's ironically less than about a half of a mile away from the Joliet airport too.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. For the people who will fly in. So as we wrap up tonight's episode, ladies and gentlemen, let me bring up now a landing page, a splash screen, so that you can find a way to engage Greg and or myself to start a conversation. All that you need to do, whoops, my bad here. Let me bring up the right thing here. Here we go. All you need to do is scan the QR codes that you see here, the one on the right for Greg, the one on the left for me. Reach out to either one of us, either separate or whatever, and we'll gladly start a conversation with you. And for this Joliet property, if that's what's appealing to you right now, we'd be glad to talk to you about how to help you move forward as quickly as possible. So, Greg, thanks for sharing your evening with me and our audience together on this summer night.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah. So, audience members, until the next episode of Real Living in Bolingbrook in about 4 weeks. Peace out.
See ya.